Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin the second episode of Wisdom Wednesday in a few minutes. Meanwhile, get your drinks ready, be sure to stay seated and buckle up for our very wise session tonight. A little bit of a ground rule for the speakers. If your speech does not adhere to the rules and regulations stated before, the organizer has the right to assist you down the stage. Next, I would like to make a few housekeeping announcements before we begin our session tonight. For the speakers, it will be appreciated if you can ensure that your microphone and camera are turned off until it is your turn. For the audience, we also appreciate it if you can leave appropriate comments on YouTube. Thank you. Assalamualaikum and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our second episode of Wisdom Wednesday. The stage is yours, 2022. This series is brought to you by English Cultural Society, ECLIPSE. I am Muhammad Shafiq bin Sadali, your fabulous and the most dashing host for tonight. I'm in the first year of my degree in English for Intercultural Communication, and I'm very honored to be here. Without further ado, let's get started. Before we go straight to the stage that we've prepared for our speakers today, may I remind you of the background on the series we are having today. The keyword is wisdom. In this series, we aim to provide a platform for UiTM students to spread wisdom and speak their hearts out. There will be 3 episodes of this series, and each of them will have their own twist. The speakers may speak in any language they would like to. It could be in Malay, Mandarin, French, or even Korean. Fret not, we'll be providing the translation for their speech. For this very episode, unlike the last episode, we bumped up the numbers of speakers from 4 to 6. Of course, there will be new perspectives. There might be a rant out of frustration. There might even be a real global issue because it is Wisdom Wednesday. So, are you guys ready? Let's see some thumbs up in the comment section. All right, keep it up, guys. For this episode, this wisdom that the speakers will be sharing is based on the topic of social issue. Talking about social issue, there is always topic about discrimination, unemployment, poverty, gender issues, and many more. And we don't want to be that person who say, it's just a small thing, and stop acting weird and solve your problem on your own. We don't want that. So today, prepare your mind and open your heart, because it's about to get real. Before we start, we would like to welcome Adlan Danish Ben Darwis to recite a doa so that we could start our night with blessing. The floor's yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wa mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma innaka khulaqul azim. Innaka sami'ul alim. Innaka ghafurur rahim. Innaka rabbul arshil azim. Innaka al-barru jawadul karim. Ya Allah, Engkaulah yang mempunyai segala kepujian. Engkaulah yang berhak menerima segala kepujian. Engkaulah yang berhak menerima segala kesyukuran. Engkaulah yang memiliki segala pemerintahan. Di tangan Engkau segala kebajikan. Kepada Engkaulah kembali segala urusan. Allahumma ya Karimu ya Rahim. Ya Allah ya Tuhan kami. Cucurilah rahmat dan rahim-Mu ke atas majlis Wisdom Wednesday Distinguished episode 2 yang diadakan pada hari ini. Berkatilah ia dari awal hingga akhirnya. Kami juga mohon perlindungan daripada-Mu dari segala perkara yang boleh mencacat cederakan majlis kami dan daripada segala perkara yang melalaikan kami dari berbuat taat kepada-Mu. Kepada-Mu jua kami serah segala urusan kami. Rabbana alaika tawakkalna wa ilaika anabna wa ilaikal masir. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wassallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillah rabbil alamin.
Amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Adlan. Good to have you back. Moving on to the next agenda for our session tonight. Now that we've started our session tonight with blessings, hope you guys are with the same energy as we had earlier, because I would like to welcome our very first speaker for the second episode of Wisdom Wednesday, presenting Mr. Muhammad Iqmal Zul Hakim bin Yaakob from the Academy of Applied Language Studies with his wisdom, masalah sosial dalam kalangan remaja. Apa penyelesaiannya? The stage is yours. We are currently facing some technical difficulties on our end. Please give us some time. And while you do that, drop some words of encouragement for our speakers tonight. while we wait until the problem is solved, I got an interesting question. The question is, what did you guys think about family? To me, and this is just my opinion, I think when we look at the term of family is people that are blood related and tied with this specific group of people. But I think it's more than that. Family involves a lot of things such as love-hate relationship between siblings, aka siblings rivalry. Some siblings fight almost every day, but when it comes to having each other back, they are there for us, right? Family is also about having fun. They may not have the same interests as you, but to be able to have family gatherings, have a meal together and so on, that is fun. But on the side note, everyone is our family. It doesn't matter if they are different in ethnic, different in skin tone, or even different in taste of food. We're all family, and that's that. And that is my opinion of the term family. What you guys think? Let's wait for a few minutes, more minutes for Mr. Ikmal. Now, all right, now everything is back on track. I would like to welcome our very first speaker for the second episode of Wisdom Wednesday, presenting Mr. Muhammad Iqmal Zul Hakim bin Yaakob from the Academy of Applied Language Studies with his wisdom. Masalah sosial dalam kalangan remaja, apa penyelesaiannya? The stage is yours.
Mawar merah berjajar 5 dibawa dengan perahu sampan. Inilah langkah yang pertama untuk menggapai segala impian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat sejahtera. Terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada pengerusi majlis yang dihormati, pengarah program Wisdom Wednesday, The Stage is Yours, ahli jawatan kuas ECLIPSE serta rakan-rakan merangkap sahabat seperjuangan yang berada atas talian pada malam ini. Pada malam yang mulia ini, saya akan menyampaikan sebuah ucapan yang bertajuk Masalah Sosial dalam Kalangan Remaja, apa penyelesaiannya? Sebelum saya pergi dengan lebih lanjut mengenai tajuk utama ucapan saya pada hari ini, eloklah sekiranya saya menerangkan serba sedikit mengenai manduk ucapan saya pada hari ini. Mutakhir ini, masalah sosial dalam kalangan remaja berada pada tahap yang amat membimbangkan. Setiap hari, pasti akan ada sahaja berita mengenai salah laku remaja yang seakan tidak mempunyai penghujung. Bukan sahaja radio atau televisyen, masalah sosial dalam kalangan remaja seperti lumba motor haram, seks bebas, pembuangan bayi, penyalahgunaan dada, pergaduhan geng dan seumpamanya mesti akan disajikan buat kita. Remaja masa kini seolah-olah suka melakukan masalah sosial yang akan mendatangkan pelbagai kemudaratan pada diri sendiri dan juga individu lain. Masalah sosial dalam kalangan remaja sebenarnya hanya akan mengakibatkan mudarat kepada anda. Pada umumnya, remaja merujuk pada individu yang berusia 10 hingga 18 tahun. Usia ini merupakan pertengahan ataupun peralihan seseorang kanak-kanak yang beransur berubah menjadi individu dewasa. Ketika ini, aspek fizikal, mental dan sosial mereka akan mula berkembang dan matang. Oleh hal yang demikian, remaja akan sentiasa mempunyai perasaan ingin mencuba atau meneroka sesuatu baharu. Masalah sosial dalam kalangan remaja perlu dipandang serius kerana mereka merupakan tonggak negara untuk menerajuikan pimpinan pada masa akan datang. Hal ini dikatakan demikian kerana sangat sesuai dengan slogan kita iaitu pemuda harapan bangsa, pemudi tiang negara. Hakikatnya, modal insan sebuah negara itu adalah remaja. Mereka adalah generasi yang akan mencorakkan negara dan tanpa mereka, masa depan sesebuah negara itu pasti kelihatan agak kelam. Hadirin sekalian, sudah pasti anda akan tertanya-tanya apakah punca sebenar seseorang remaja itu melakukan masalah sosial. Walaupun ia mungkin lebih kepada masalah dalaman diri sendiri, ia juga mungkin disebabkan oleh pelbagai faktor luaran yang lain, antaranya faktor kendiri. Remaja hari ini sebenarnya kurang mampu untuk menyesuaikan diri dengan keadaan dan persekitaran mereka. Ini ekoran daripada ketidakupayaan mereka untuk mengawal atau mempertahankan diri mereka sendiri. Ini seterusnya akan menyebabkan mereka gagal mengendalikan emosi semasa menghadapi masalah hidup lalu mengakibatkan mereka terjerumus ke dalam kancah masalah sosial. Selain itu, faktor rakan-rakan. Remaja adalah usia di mana individu mempunyai rakan sebaya. Rakan-rakan juga sebenarnya ada punca utama remaja lebih gemar melepak dan mengikut gaya hidup rakan mereka. Sekiranya rakan-rakan mereka itu aktif melakukan masalah sosial, maka malang bagi seseorang remaja itu kerana mereka yang lemah jati diri akan mudah terpengaruh dengan rakan sebaya mereka. Faktor yang terakhir ialah faktor keluarga. Remaja sangat bergantung pada keluarga, terutamanya ibu bapa mereka. Jika ibu bapa terlalu sibuk menumpukan perhatian terhadap pekerjaan, ini akan menyebabkan mereka kurang memberi perhatian terhadap anak mereka. Hal ini seterusnya akan memberi kesan kepada jiwa anak-anak yang akan kurang kasih sayang lalu mudah terdedah dengan pelbagai pengaruh negatif masalah sosial di luar rumah. Masalah sosial merupakan gejala-gejala sosial yang dilakukan oleh individu terutamanya remaja. Kini anda tidak lagi akan berasa hairan dengan pelakuan remaja kini yang tular di media sosial kerana kebanyakan individu sudah beranggapan bahawa masalah sosial itu sendiri sudah menjadi norma hidup zaman sekarang. Jika hendak disenaraikan, terlalu banyak salah laku remaja yang boleh dianggapkan sebagai masalah sosial. Salah satu contohnya ialah buli. Menurut kajian yang dilakukan oleh Family First Aid di Amerika, 30% daripada remaja pernah terlibat di dalam gejala buli sama ada sebagai pembuli atau mangsa buli. Di Malaysia juga, gejala buli ini berada pada tahap yang membimbangkan. Tidak kira di sekolah, rumah atau di mana-mana sekalipun. Gejala buli di kalangan remaja dan kanak-kanak kini berada pada tahap yang sangat membimbangkan. Kini, gejala buli bukan sahaja bersifat fizikal dan mental semata-mata. Bahkan, ia juga boleh berlaku dalam bentuk cyber. Buli cyber juga ada buli dan individu yang melakukannya boleh dihukum oleh undang-undang jika disabit bersalah. Sama seperti buli fizikal dan mental, buli cyber juga akan menyebabkan pelbagai kemudaratan buat individu yang dibuli. Selain kekurangan keyakinan diri dan pelbagai lagi masalah emosi yang lain, mangsa buli mungkin akan hilang pertimbangan dan memutuskan untuk membunuh diri. Oleh itu, tegah perbuatan buli ini dengan kadar segera. Selain itu, merokok. Jika dilihat kepada peraturan di negara kita, usia individu untuk merokok yang dibenarkan adalah 18 tahun. Walau bagaimanapun, kini remaja dan kanak-kanak yang masih lagi bersekolah sudah mula berani berjinak-jinak dengan rokok. Tambahan pula, mereka juga tidak segan silu untuk mempamerkan perbuatan mereka yang kononnya tampak hebat. Lebih membimbangkan lagi, kanak-kanak dan remaja perempuan juga sudah mula menganggap merokok itu sebagai sesuatu yang normal. Malahan itu, yang bertudung juga seakan sudah tiada nilainya. Mungkin ada yang mengatakan merokok adalah hak individu, akan tetapi ia tetap membahayakan kesihatan dan haram di sisi agama Islam. Kini, terdapat banyak alternatif buat rokok seperti perokok elektronik yang kononnya dicipta untuk menghilangkan ketagihan seseorang terhadap rokok. Sebenarnya, ia hanyalah salah satu cara merokok yang lain dan ia tetap mempunyai kemudaratannya. Jadi, apa yang remaja dapat melalui merokok? Fikirkannya semula. Akhir sekali, seks bebas. Berdasarkan data Youth Behavior Surveillance pada tahun 2015, 41% murid sekolah di Amerika dilaporkan pernah melakukan aktiviti seksual secara bebas. Ini seterusnya akan membawa kepada masalah kehamilan luar nikah pada usia remaja. Pada tahun yang sama, 5.3% daripada kelahiran bayi di Amerika adalah anak luar nikah. Ini sangat membimbangkan kerana ia adalah sama sekali bertentangan dengan tuntutan agama Islam dan undang-undang di Malaysia. Seks bebas adalah dalam kalangan remaja akan mengakibatkan pelbagai kemudaratan seperti penyebaran penyakit berjangkit akibat STD, kelahiran anak luar nikah, pembuangan bayi dan lain-lain. Remaja kini hidup dalam zaman yang sangat sukar dan mencabar. Ini kerana zaman sekarang adalah zaman teknologi dan media sosial adalah kunci untuk kehidupan seseorang remaja. Isu-isu yang berkaitan dengan gejala sosial kerap menjadi paparan media massa seperti akhbar dan televisyen. Paparan media massa menunjukkan gejala sosial semakin bertambah setiap tahun. Pada pendapat saya, Isu gejala sosial ini perlu ditangani dengan segera kerana gejala sosial banyak mendatangkan keburukan kepada diri, keluarga dan masyarakat. Terdapat beberapa langkah yang perlu dilakukan untuk mengatasi gejala sosial dalam menangani gejala sosial. Ibu bapa boleh memainkan peranan penting. Hal ini kerana banyak masa ibu bapa diluangkan bersama anak-anak. Oleh itu, ibu bapa mempunyai banyak masa untuk menasihati anak-anak tentang nilai-nilai murni yang perlu diamalkan dan gejala sosial yang perlu dijauhi oleh anak-anak. Ibu bapa juga perlu meluangkan masa membantu anak-anak menyelesaikan masalah yang dihadapi di rumah atau di luar rumah agar anak-anak rasa selamat, disayangi dan dihargai. Media massa juga boleh membantu mengatasi gejala sosial. Hal ini kerana media massa boleh mempengaruhi tingkah laku seseorang dengan berkesan. Media massa seperti televisyen mestilah menayangkan lebih banyak program yang berunsur positif dan memberi pendidikan kepada penonton. Rancangan yang berunsurkan hiburan yang melalaikan juga tidak wajar ditayangkan di televisyen. Yang ketiga iaitu pihak kerajaan juga boleh memainkan peranan untuk mengatasi gejala sosial. Hal ini kerana pihak kerajaan mempunyai sumber kewangan untuk melaksanakan program bagi menangani gejala sosial di kalangan rakyat. Selain itu, pihak kerajaan juga mempunyai kuasa untuk menggubal undang-undang bagi mengatasi gejala sosial. Di samping itu, pihak kerajaan juga boleh mengadakan pelbagai kempen mengatasi gejala sosial di stesen televisyen dan radio milik kerajaan. Sebagai kesimpulan, beberapa langkah perlu dilakukan untuk mengatasi gejala sosial yang mendatangkan banyak masalah. Usaha mengatasi gejala sosial ini mesti dilakukan secara berterusan oleh semua pihak. Pada pendapat saya, gejala sosial ini dapat diatasi jika semua lapisan masyarakat menyedari tanggungjawab masing-masing dalam menjaga nama baik keluarga, masyarakat dan negara. Jika permasalahan gejala sosial dapat ditangani, saya pasti imej negara akan dipandang tinggi dan sektor pelancongan negara dapat terus dimajukan. Bertinggi pupuk di pohon sena, merdu bersiul terus beredar, iman dipupuk, takwa dijana, gejala sosial dapat dihindar. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sekian, terima kasih.
Wow, round of applause everybody to Mr. Ikmal. That was fascinating. I agree that the gejala social among our adolescents today is getting more and more out of hand. It does concern me and everybody else too, because if our youth are not taken care of with love, if they are not nurtured well, our future too, as a country, will be jeopardized. All right, moving on to the next speaker for tonight, who will be laying out his perspective with Malaysia and education, what to look for. Welcoming our second speaker, Mr. Amar Haziq bin Rahim from Faculty of Education. The stage is yours.
All right, testing mic. Okay. Thank you very much for the MC for inviting me on this stage. And I'm very much grateful for being around today as I am able to speak in regards to my own opinions in regards to education. Since the first speaker has already talked about a lot more in regards to our social issues, mainly in regards to the ethics of our people right now, it seems more relevant to talk about education at the same time, given that education is one of the bases for us in regards to our social development, in regards to helping our people, as well as also improving ourselves towards a better life. Before I start, let's just talk about a little bit in regards to the meaning of system itself. When we talk about systems, it has been based on and created upon a certain basis in regards to someone's own opinions and ideas. So in its own creation and its development moving forward, there will always be a lacking towards it, and we have to reform it every single time. And it will have to have a phase in regards to that, and we'll have more reviews, criticism in regards to its lackings, its own flaws for us to actually look forward to. So I believe when I talk about education, we have a lot of things to talk about, but I've already put it down a few points so that we are able to talk about them. These points, I believe, are the biggest ones, and I do think that we should all have a clear notice in regards to how to tackle and then reevaluate our education system. So the first point is a little bit of that. The society is affected due to the system. This is why I want to touch about education, because it is actually the movement for us to actually fix our people to be better and to also solve the issues that we have already spoken by the first speaker today. So let's just move on now to the main issues that I want to highlight. There are a few issues. First and foremost, we all have been here before, which is a too far advanced syllabus. If we talk about the newest syllabus, KSSM, for example, in Malaysia, it has been a little bit rocky since the system itself has been too far advanced. So for example, maybe back in our day, when we were in Form 1, for example, right now, Standard 5 is learning a part of our own syllabus when we were in Form 1. So that would be a problem for them since it's been too advanced. It's been 3 years pulled down. And so it's going to be a hard time for the students to cope with these things, as well as it is far beyond the comprehension of teachers. This is actually an opinion from a lot of veteran teachers too. I had been surrounded with a lot of good teachers in my life, and I think they also gave a point of view that the ministry is not really much doing their job correctly when it comes to actually improving our syllabus, when it comes to moving forward. It is not wrong to actually move forward a bit of the years in regards to the syllabus being advanced. However, there should be precautions, there should be steps in order to actually make resources that are proper and also being able to teach these students well. Moving on, the strictly imbalanced grading and rubric. This happens a lot. And from my education class with my lecturer, we had a talk after class, and she ended the class a bit earlier. And she said that even in her PhD, she made it outside of the country and moving back into the country and seeing one of her friends also continuing a PhD have a lot of criteria and also evaluations that they need to move on to, which is that it didn't happen for her. So it has to be a problem for us too, since the rubric and the grading has been too strict. And I think it is also a problem when it comes to philosophy issues, when it comes to these more vague or more subjective subjects, right? They are very much subjective and they need opinions, and they don't really have much of a rubric that we need to follow. Maybe a rubric to guide the teachers in their marking, yes. However, to put it as a strict balance towards giving much of the markings in regards to the answers of the students, that might not be the case, since I think we all understand if we go too strictly, it might be a little bit counterproductive, I might say. So the third part is inconsistency in the teaching modules. This has been seen a lot when it comes to the most in contra here is the language barrier. When I was hearing that Standard 5 is actually learning about English linguistics and not even Bahasa Melayu in its own linguistics, it is actually a problem since it is not balanced and the modules are not really much proper. So it complicates the progression of the higher education at the same time. This is not only the main problem. We also have the language problems too. Again, as been said in this slide, which means some schools, some institutions in our country use English, some use Malay, and some private institutions, for example, they don't really have much of a system of their own. They have their own system based on the governorship of that private institution. So there is a lack of uniform in this whole thing. So we should really much put forward these things. Having issues like this, it is going to be a problem. And when I was talking about the grading rubric, I actually remembered about HOTS, which was introduced not too long ago, I think, before that. So it has to make the students to think about the answers, to be more creative. However, with the rubrics and the strict marking, it might actually just cause a bit of a problem where everybody is being too strict and we can't accept any answers beyond the students' own understandings. Moving on, since I've been talking about too much of the flaws at this point of time, because there are a lot of flaws. Let's be real. Any other institutions For example, our democracy, maybe our government, they too have a lot of problems. However, there should be a slow pace and, of course, a more positive review in order to improve things. There is no point of making negativity in regards to changing something, all right? So one of the list of recommendations here, I would say the ministry should have a proper planning when it comes to implementing the new modules, for example, because if we don't have a proper execution, those theories that we have built up before this are not really much effective, because we can't really just implement them sooner or later. So we really, really need for the ministry itself to actually organize maybe courses, maybe a 1-year gap before implementing these new plans, these new action plans, so that the teachers are able to catch up, the students are able to also understand in the future, and also could be a new scheme that is completely ready to be used in our education system. The second point here is to be more lenient in regards to the rubric and marking system. There could be a new form, a new way to actually mark. We should assume these rubrics are more towards helping us as educators to mark as guidance only, not really much based on only those ideas alone. If not, it would have been a bit shorter. For example, maybe poetry. You can't really have one simple answer for poetry, because poems and poetry itself has the uniqueness for students to actually think about. For example, maybe I have a different opinion about this poem, somebody else has a different opinion. We all have been there before. So it might have been very much well done if there is supposed to be a guidance rather than it being much of a rubric that we have to follow strictly in regards to marking these more subjective topics or issues in our education system. Finally, I think we should be determining the language, the main language of our education system, make it more formal and make it all uniform across all institutions. We have to have an agreement in regards to the language, or if not, have a source as to where these students will go, have a more proper planning as to where these students would go. Maybe the Malay learning system or syllabus could go to these universities, particular universities where they have implemented the use of Bahasa Melayu as the main communication of language, and as well as the syllabus, so that the terms in when they are learning would not be affected. They will actually understand what they are learning with. And of course, English being the most communicated way here in our nation and a lot of other countries around the world as a universal language, there should be a better source for these people who need to learn English, or at least if you can't really much change the national learning language for the higher education system, you should really much make an ideal uniform system where everybody speaks English or Malay, which is better enough for us all, I believe. And to conclude everything, I think this is a very much of an easy topic, because why social issues, when it comes to education, maybe we lack the point of view, the mindset on how to change our education system. For example, maybe some people would not think that it is actually changeable, but actually we could do a lot, and society could benefit from it by actually having, it's not going to be an easier way of learning. It would be a balanced one, not too hard or not too easy for the students. If it's too hard, then nobody would succeed in the system. If you keep marking these systems, you wouldn't really have a system that is perfect at all if you can't receive criticisms and all that. So we should have a balanced education system where the students and teachers also understand, so that every single time that we go into the classroom, we are able to understand what we learned. At the same time, we are able to actually resume our education better. And with that, I say thank you very much.
Show some love for our second speaker for tonight. Thank you, Mr. Amar. Well, as a person who has a Malaysian education background, this sharing has brought me some new perspectives on the Malaysian education system, especially on the lack of uniform part among the institution on certain aspects. I did realize things were different, but I did not think much about it. Well, now I know what it is to look for in education in Malaysia. As requested by Pak Din in the comment section, here is serangkap pantun from me. 2-3 kucing berlari, mana nak sama si kucing belang. 2-3 boleh kita baiki agar Malaysia menjadi negara cemerlang. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling for tonight, as I would like to invite the third speaker, Mr. Said Fazil Al-Habshi bin Said Ismail from Academy of Applied Language Studies, who will be talking about the tyranny of merit. The taste is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can I start now?
Yep.
Okay. What went wrong? Not just the pandemic, but with our civic life. What brought us to this polarized and rancorous political movement? In recent decades, the divide between the winners and losers has been deepening, especially the politics that set us apart. This divide is mainly about inequality, but this is also about the attitude towards winning and losing, and has come with it. Those who landed on top came to believe that their success was only because of their efforts and struggles, forgetting about the aspects of luck and fortune in life. And those who lose out had no one to believe but themselves. This problem arises from a seemingly attractive principle. If everyone has an equal chance, then the winners deserve their winning. This is the very heart of the meritocratic idea. In practice, of course, we fall far short. Not everyone has an equal chance. Those who come from poor families will tend to stay poor in their lives. And those who come from affluent families or wealthy families will definitely have a different story. This reminds me of Warren Buffett talking about how lucky he was to be born at the right time, in the right place, and as a man with the right skin color. Those are what makes him stand out and successful, as we see today. At Ivy League universities, for example, there are more students in the top 1% than the students from the entire bottom half country combined. But the problem is not that we only fail to live up to the meritocratic ideal. The idea itself is corrosive. The meritocracy is corrosive to the common good. It leads to hubris among the winners. And humiliation amongst those who lose out. Therefore, what should we do? I think we need to rethink two aspects: the role of college and the dignity of work. I think we should start rethinking the university of college as arbiters of opportunities. Not everybody has an equal chance to go to college. In fact, nearly 2/3 of Americans do not possess any college degree. So it is folly to create an economy where it necessarily includes a 4-year college degree to be part of a condition of dignified work and decent life. Encouraging people to go to college is good, but broadening access to those who are underprivileged is even better. But this is not the solution. We should focus more on making life better. We should focus more on making life better to those who lack a diploma but making a significant change in their life. Next, we should renew the dignity of work. We should acknowledge that work is not only just making a living. It is also about contributing to the common good. Robert F. Kennedy put it very well half a century ago. Fellowship, community, and shared patriotism. These values do not come from just buying and consuming goods together. They come from a dignified employment, the kind of employment that enables us to say, I helped to build this country, and I am a participant in its great public ventures. This civic sentiment is largely missing from our public life. So, it is time to start questioning our meritocracy hubris. It is time to start questioning our meritocracy hubris. Do I morally deserve the talents that enable me to flourish? Or is it my doing that I live in a society that prizes the talents that I happen to have? Or it's just my good luck? These are the questions that I leave up to all of you. Thank you.
Oh my, Mr. Said Fazil, everybody. That's our third speaker for tonight. I can say it's true that our society is way too bent on the concept of winning and losing. That the concept of just doing something and gaining experience from it is now, we can say, underrated. Winning is nice, having good qualification is nice, but being a person that contributes is definitely nice too. Thank you again, Mr. Said Fazil. We won't stop here, everyone. The stage would like to welcome the fourth speaker of this episode with the topic online friends are real friends. Give it up for Mr. Amirul Akil bin Amran from the Academy of Applied Language Studies. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, MC. Now,
why so lazy? With so much time inside, on your phone lah, on your computer. Cannot go outside, is it? Go find some real friends lah, wasting your time with online people. Hey, you know, online friends are not real friends. You know,
oh dear. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever heard of that before? Or perhaps something similar? I certainly did when I was younger. I never was the most extroverted of individuals, wasting my time, as my mother would say, indoors and behind the comfort of my own computer. I rarely played outside and even rarer still had friends to play with. No, most of my childhood was spent in the virtual worlds of the then still fledgling internet, meeting with people online with as much due diligence and carefulness as I could muster as a child, of course. My mother's comments would eventually find little meaning with me anymore. The more she repeated them, the less they could faze me. But I could never forget that one phrase that she often used: online friends are not real friends. Even back then, as a child, I couldn't really agree with it, and not just because she was yelling it to me, of course. No, back then, online friends tended to be my only friends. They were real to me, even though I never met them in person. I talked with them every day, whether it was through texting or through voice call. I spent every moment that I had to spare with them, whether it was playing online games together or just hanging out and sharing funny or cute animal videos. Now, surely all that time I had spent with them, being friends, was real. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to answer my own question, yes, it was real. And yes, it is real. No one should tell me or tell you otherwise. Especially now, when the world is still getting to grips with lockdowns and quarantines and isolation, where going outside is much, much harder, online interactions are more commonplace, and online friendships are being built now more than ever before. But what are friendships? What is a friend? And what is the difference between online ones and real ones? Well, let's go down that list of questions, shall we? Now, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, friendship is a state of enduring affection, esteem, intimacy, and trust between two people. A friend, therefore, is a person whom you have an enduring affection with, have high esteem for, and share intimacy as well as trust with each other. To put it into simpler terms, a friend is someone whom you are emotionally closer to than your average stranger. So what is the difference between an online friend and a real one? Well, when people say a real friend in this context, what they really mean are friends whom you have met face to face in the physical world. It would be more apt to call them in real life friends or IRL friends than truly real friends. Whereas online friends are those whom you have built the bond of friendship with online through the virtual world. In essence, that's the only tangible difference between these two friend types. Friends whom you've met face to face and friends whom you've only met virtually. When it comes to the friendships themselves, to the bonds of affection, of esteem, of intimacy and trust that our definitions like to espouse, these two friend types are much the same. Neither is better than the other, though they might have their own little caveats. You might trust a real-life friend more outright because you've met them face-to-face before. But you might not be as intimate with them as you would an online friend whom you can open up to a lot easier and potentially with less repercussions. You might be able to go to the movies with your real-life friends and hang out physically. But when you're in bed at home at night, chatting away, whom will it be with if not your online friends gossiping the day's events with you? I have friends whom I've been friends with for over half a decade now. Online friends, mind you, and they are people whom I share with my good times, my bad times, and everything in between. They are people from all walks of life from all across the world, Canada, Holland, Portugal, Brazil, Texas, and plenty more. And despite being so far from each other, we are still the best of friends, as much friends as my real-life friends are. And I find that there's very little tangible difference between the friends that I have online and the friends whom I've met physically. Again, especially now, when I don't even get to meet my real-life friends as much due to COVID, ever since my degree started, I've never had the pleasure of having met more than just a handful of my classmates face-to-face. In fact, I've never met any of you face-to-face either. We're all in the virtual world right now, are we not? Online, on Zoom, as it were, on YouTube Live. But that said, I'm sure each and every one of you would make for a fine friend. We might never have met in the physical world, but doesn't matter when even in the virtual world, I'm sure we can both bond with each other, learn to trust each other, and eventually become online friends. Because in the end, both online friends and real-life friends fill the criteria for being a friend. Both are your companions whom you have a close emotional bond to. Both are real friends. And online friends, too, are real friends. Let nobody tell you otherwise. That is all from me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amiro, as that was very insightful. I have a few online friends myself, and I agree with what he said. Between friends, it is so nice to actually be able to share the same interest between both parties, whether it is online or IRL in real life. I mean, if the same idea of online friends are not real friends is applied to my ODL situation, then my classmate won't be my real classmate either. All right, moving on. Keep up the energy, everyone, as we would like to invite our second last speaker of tonight, welcoming Mr. Muhammad Firdaus bin Muhammad Fakih from the College of Creative Art. He will be talking about telephones affect our real life communication negatively. The stage is yours.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Can you see this?
Yep.
All right. Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening. My name is Muhammad Firdaus bin Muhammad Fakih, and today I am going to share a topic that is telephones can affect our communication negatively. Okay, phone, addiction, and you. So what it is all about from this picture, as you can see on the left, where the man is hugging the phone. As we all know that phones have evolved into one of the humanity's greatest innovation tool has ever invented. With the first telephone patent granted to Alexander Graham Bell himself in the late 19th century. However, despite being more advanced as time goes on, telephones or mobile phones still have its fair share of disadvantages, which may outweigh the benefits we often praise about. A popular example of the phone is that how it is easy to develop into an addiction. One such addiction is social media addiction, which can literally lower your social skills. Moving on is that life through a phone is very depressing. To be honest, yes, it is depressing. Nowadays, it is very uncommon to see someone going for a food, drinks, or even to a party without their mobile phone at their hands. Conversation with people nearby become meaningless. This is because when the phone addicts prioritize their phones rather than their surroundings, and this will lead them to a lack of social skills. So this is my point of view when I don't have the phone with me.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. I 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 need it!
So based on the video that I shared a little bit just now is that, yes, to be honest, I was once a phone addict, and yes, it is true that I could not live or go outside without my phones. I need to know what is the time and is anybody has messaged me and what is the news recently that has been updated. And for me, it's very important to have phone, but however, being addicted to have phone around you is very, very hard to live without it. And this is about the side effects that what happens if you became addicted to your phone. The first one on the left is that you will develop sexual anxiety. Now, this problem is because not many phone addicted are used to communicating to others outside of the social media, but they have already used to being isolated by themselves. They prefer to live in private space and not many people around them. And often this will lead their social circle became much more smaller in real life, and also limiting them from developing a real relationship with the outside. Secondly, is that they will feel often lacking in social skills. So this problem is because that phones addicts are often lacking social skill by not actively participating in the surrounding conversation. It makes them very hard to practice, and also it will make them very hard to develop friendship with those people around them. This would lead them to being more timid in social interaction, and also may cause further isolation due to other finding that they can be very rude or maybe awkward and also uninteresting to talk with. And lastly, phone addicts will also find that they are struggle to maintain their relationship outside of the social media. And this problem is because that without social media, they would easily lose contact with others, with the other people. To phone addicts, liking and also sharing posts is the best form of communication compared to making plans to meet up and do activities together in real life. So for my final thoughts is that phone can be our biggest weakness when it becomes an addiction, as it affects your social skills and also relationships with others human beings around you. As mentioned previously, by always prioritizing your phone over someone talking to you, others would perceive you more on your surroundings, as you may lose your chance to bond with those people around you, and if you kept isolating yourself. And that is all from me. And thank you for your attention. And that's all. Thank you.
Amazing topic, everyone. In my opinion, a few words that can top it off are interesting, important, and different. I am definitely guilty of this. I do keep my phones really close to me 24/7. And yes, SpongeBob is a mood. We have become we have become so dependent on our phones, which is due to its being very useful. But if it turns into an addiction, it might be time to keep it moderate. Okay, everyone? Now we've arrived at the moment that we've been waiting for. The last speaker of tonight has such an interesting topic to talk about. It is about toxic positivity, kehancuran di sebalik ihsan. Welcoming Miss Nakibah binti Nur Azan from the Academy of Applied Language Studies. The stage is yours.
Hold on a second. Kejap ah.
It's okay, take your time.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, which one? The whole screen or
The
just
whole
the
screen.
slide? The whole screen.
Yes.
Okay, wait. I just want to share this. Sorry. I'm sorry for taking your time. Okay, I cannot share the screen only.
Right now we're seeing the whole screen, and if you want to share the whole screen, you might want to make it not a presenter view.
The slides.
Uh-huh.
But I think it shows everything. Wait a minute. Okay, sekejap.
All right, we are having a technical difficulties. You guys hold on for a sec, and yeah, so keep the comments coming, guys. Okay.
Thank you so much. Sorry, tahu sekejap ya.
The presentation is okay right now. It's only the slides.
All right, thank you, speaker.
All right.
Okay, I think I can start now.
Yes, don't forget to turn on your camera.
Okay. I'm sorry. All right. Aku sedih lah. Abang aku asyik marah-marah aku je. Tadi dia marah aku dekat depan orang ramai. Sampai aku menangis malu-malu depan orang ramai. Dah lah tu. Janganlah merungut. Bukan abang kau je suka marah-marah macam tu. Ramai lagi orang yang pernah marah. Yang lagi teruk daripada kau. So janganlah kau emosi sangat Kau patut bersyukur yang kau ada abang lagi. Adakah anda pernah mengalami situasi yang sebegini? Sama ada yang kena marah ataupun yang sedang mengadu. Sebenarnya tanpa disedari, itulah toxic positivity. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera kepada hadirin yang dihormati sekalian. Toxic positivity, kehancuran di sebalik ihsan. Kalau kita dengar, kita dapat perkataan toxic positivity. Toxic tapi positif. Toxic ke positif ni? Nampak seperti nasihat yang baik tetapi sebenarnya motivasi tersebut membunuh emosi ataupun memburukkan lagi keadaan. Itulah toxic positivity. Kita selalu katakan pada diri kita, always be positive. Jadi positif. Sebab kita yakin apabila kita menyebutkan perkataan-perkataan yang baik, maka aura yang baik akan datang ke dalam diri kita. Tapi kita kena sedar yang sebenarnya hidup kita ni tiada yang sempurna. Ada masanya kita akan berasa seronok. Ada masanya kita akan berasa gembira, bahagia dan macam-macam lagi. Tetapi ada kalanya kita akan berasa sedih, marah, geram dan lain-lain. Hari demi hari masalah kita, sama ada masalah individu ataupun masalah masyarakat maupun masalah negara semakin bertambah-tambah hari demi hari. Sedar tak sedar, toxic positivity ini telah pun menjadi satu kebiasaan, kelaziman ataupun norma dalam masyarakat kita. Jadi kenapa positivity ini dikatakan toxic ataupun berbahaya kepada diri kita? Dan apa sebenarnya contoh toxic positif yang biasa kita dengar? Macam memotivasikan tetapi rupa-rupanya merosakkan diri kita dalam diam. Ada satu kajian yang telah dilaksanakan, sifat toxic positivity ini boleh dipercakap kepada dua. Sama ada toxic positivity kepada diri sendiri maupun toxic positivity kepada orang lain. Orang yang mengadu masalah, orang yang meluahkan emosi mereka dan kita menjadi toxic positivity kepada insan tersebut. Jadi kajian ini menyatakan bahawa tanda-tanda toxic positivity adalah apabila kita menjadi sangat positif kepada diri sendiri. Setiap hari kena maintain je. Kita kena kekalkan sentiasa positif. Kalau ada masalah, positif. Kalau kita rasa sedih, kena marah, positif saja. Itu adalah salah satu contohnya. Saya tak dapat bayangkan bagaimana orang toxic positivity kepada diri sendiri ni dapat mengekalkan kehidupannya dari hari demi hari dengan mengekalkan positivity dalam dirinya sendiri. Yang kedua adalah apabila individu tersebut mereka menafikan ataupun tidak menghiraukan emosi yang negatif. Contohnya apabila berasa sedih, dia tolak tepi sebenarnya menolak tepi masalah ataupun emosi negatif dalam diri sendiri. Contohnya, saya bagi satu analogi. Contohnya kalau kita lihat atap rumah kita ada bocor, titik demi titik air menitik ke bawah. Tetapi kita biarkan je. Oh tak apalah, positif. Okey tu ni tak ada masalah, okey je, hujan biasa je. Tapi lama kelamaan apabila hujan makin lebat dalam jangka masa yang panjang, akhirnya air yang setitik demi setitik itu akan membanjiri rumah dan mengakibatkan satu bala yang besar, iaitu rumah banjir lah. Macam tu. Jadi begitu jugalah dengan kita sebagai manusia, kalau kita ada emosi yang negatif, kita menghiraukan. Tak ada apalah, benda kecil je ni. Kita menghiraukan, kita tolak ke tepi. Tak ada apalah. Lama-kelamaan akan mengundang masalah besar dan mendatangkan impak terhadap dalaman kita. Kalau kita tak rawat, perkara ini akan memakan diri kita dalam diam. Sebenarnya nilai positif ataupun sikap positivity ini adalah perkara yang bagus dalam diri kita, dalam diri seseorang. Okey, baik untuk kesihatan fizikal maupun kesihatan mental. Tapi sebenarnya dalam diam boleh memakan diri kita sendiri. Jadi macam mana kita nak kenal pasti? Macam mana kita nak kenal pasti sama ada adakah kita toksik positif kepada diri sendiri ataupun kita telah menjadi toksik kepada rakan-rakan yang lain ataupun kepada individu yang lain? Yang pertama adalah apabila ayat yang kita gunakan ayat itu sama ada kepada diri sendiri ataupun kepada orang lain langsung tidak meraihkan struggle ataupun titik peluh usaha yang kita lakukan. Ini bermaksud kita tidak memberi ruang kepada individu tersebut untuk menikmati usaha yang telah dilakukan. Yang kedua adalah meletakkan emosi kegembiraan itu pada pengalaman yang sepatutnya berasa sedih. Contohnya, kalau kita contohlah kalau kita katakan kita fail exam ataupun kita gagal ataupun tidak mencapai seperti yang kita nak. Dan kemudian kita cakap alah benda kecil je. Macam tu. Kita letakkan ke tepi. Tapi kita menggantikan rasa sedih tu dengan sesuatu yang boleh menggembirakan. Orang kata distracting. Kita distract diri kita dengan perkara yang menggembirakan. Contohnya sepatutnya dalam situasi tersebut dia perlulah diam sebentar, raikan rasa sedih tersebut, mungkin muhasabah diri, tetapi individu tersebut distract diri dia, mengalihkan fokus emosi negatif tersebut menjadi positif. Maksudnya contohnya dia akan pergi berhibur, keluar dengan rakan-rakan, pergi melepak untuk menolak tepi perasaan yang negatif tersebut. Dan seterusnya adalah apabila contohnya kita selalu letakkan quotes yang positif untuk sebab kita nak menutup emosi sebenar. Contohnya be positif, tak ada masalah. Kalau kita ada masalah tu tak apa, be positif. Itu antara satu contoh antara contoh toxic positivity. Dan yang terakhir adalah perbandingan. Toxic positivity ini biasanya akan diselangi juga dengan perbandingan ataupun kita berkongsi masalah ke diri kita dengan orang lain. Contohnya kawan ada kongsikan masalah dan kemudian individu tersebut cakap, aku dulu pun pernah juga. Orang lain pun ada juga masalah yang sama. Tak ada pun menangis macam kau. Itu adalah contoh toxic positivity. Sedangkan setiap daripada kita ini ada mempunyai pengalaman yang berbeza dan dengan cara pemikiran yang berbeza. Kita tak perlu bandingkan pun. Okay? Jadi istilah toxic positivity ini secara asasnya adalah merujuk kepada kata-kata toksik yang memberi ruang kepada kita supaya kita tidak berasa rendah ataupun tak berasa tertekan, tidak berasa sedih. Sedangkan manusia ini kita mempunyai pelbagai jenis emosi yang selari dengan situasi yang kita sedang lalui. Jadi, apakah solusinya untuk toxic positivity ini? 3 perkara. Dengar, fahami dan sahkan. Dengar masalah tersebut, fahami masalah tersebut dan sahkan. Tetapi namun sangat sedikit yang mampu menjadi pendengar yang baik. Sekian itu sahaja daripada saya. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Everyone, a round of applause to the only female speakers for tonight, Miss Nakiba. Despite the technical issue, she managed to pull it off. Amazing input. Anyway, I believe that we should embrace our feelings, even if it is sadness. It really is okay to feel that way. If it's conceal or suppress our feelings, it will only be bottled up, and when it's time, boom, it explodes. And we will end up having it all one at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived at the end of the session for tonight. Thank you so much, Mr. Ikmal, Mr. Amar, Mr. Said, Mr. Amirul, Mr. Firdaus, and Ms. Nakiba for your mindful wisdom. I hope that what our speakers conveyed had left an impact on you guys, most definitely for me. We apologize for exceeding the time we planned. We ended it a few minutes later than expected, but that's okay. More knowledge gain, I guess. With that being said, let's meet again in the next and final episode of Wisdom Wednesday on 11th of May and hear new opinions about technology. You can also register as speaker, visit our Instagram at ECLIPSE of EIC for further information. Spots are limited, okay? Come running to us. Before we end this session, I would like to remind you guys to fill in the attendance form in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We will end today's episode with UiTM di Hatiku. Thank you. See you again in the next one.